Welcome to my YouTube channel. Here is the video for the preparation of interviews. Let's try for this interview. Vice President Integration and API Platforms. Okay, we get the button called Practice and Interview, and let's see the job description. Wow, so it is just like a developer's role, isn't it? So you don't think this is actually VP, but they are calling it as a VP. So let's try this. We will start by clicking this practice interview, and then this AI will ask us some question and we'll try to answer it. Let's start. It's just 20 minutes as you see here. Okay, so let's see.
Hello, Sumant. This is a mock interview session for the Vice President Integration and API Platforms role. Your answers are private and won't be shared with any company. You can end the session anytime to get personalized feedback and insights, and you're free to retake it whenever you want. Let's begin. How would you ensure that integration standards and lifecycle rules are consistently applied across different business units in the organization? If you're feeling stuck, let's break it down. What's your initial approach for getting buy-in from key stakeholders to ensure those standards are followed?
To ensure integration standards and lifecycle rules are consistently applied across different business units, I focus on three key pillars: governance, platform enablement, and organizational alignment. First, I establish a centralized integration governance model. This includes defining enterprise wide standards for API design, security versioning, documentation, and lifecycle management. These standards are published in a integration playbook and enforced through architectural review boards and automated compliance checks. Second, I ensure teams have the right platform capabilities. Standard alone are useless if teams cannot easily follow them. So we provide a unified API platform with built-in capabilities such as API gateways, developer portals, CI/CD pipelines, and automated policy enforcement. This allows teams to polish, secure, and manage APIs which automatically adhering to enterprise standards. I focus on federated ownership and central oversight. Business units maintain ownership of their domain APIs, but they must comply with enterprise integration policies. This balance allows innovation at the domain level while maintaining consistency across the organization. Finally, lifecycle governance is critical. Every API follows a defined lifecycle: design, development, testing, publication, monitoring, versioning, and deprecation. Automated tools track usage, enforce policies, and ensure that deprecated APIs are retired responsibly without breaking consumers. By combining governance, platform automation, and domain ownership, the organization can scale integrations across business units while maintaining consistency, security, and operational control.
You've outlined governance, platform enablement, and alignment. Let's drill into one area. How do you enforce those standards when a business unit resists adopting the centralized platform capabilities? Even if it's tough, think about a situation where a unit pushed back. How would you handle that resistance concretely? For example, if they claimed the platform slowed down their delivery.
When a business unit resists adopting centralized integration platform capabilities, I approach it through a combination of governance, authority, business alignment, and practical enablement. First, I ensure the integration standards are not positioned as an IT preference but as enterprise risk and efficiency control. These standards are typically endorsed at the executive level and embedded into enterprise architecture governance. This means any new integration initiative must pass architecture review before moving into production. Second, I focus on understanding the reason behind the resistance. In many cases, the issue is not the standards themselves, but concerns about delivery speed, perceived platform limitations, or fear of losing domain autonomy. Addressing those concerns easily is critical. Third, I create architectural guardrails rather than hard constraints. Business units retain ownership of their domain services and APIs, but they must comply with enterprise policies around security, observability, and lifecycle management. The centralized platform simply provides the easiest path to meet those requirements. Fourth, I introduce automated policy enforcement, CI/CD pipelines, API gateways, and platform tooling enforce standards such as authentication policies, versioning rules, and monitoring requirement. This removes the need for manual policies and ensures consistency at scale. Finally, if exceptions are required, they go through a formal exception process with clear risk documentation and time bound remediation plans. This keeps flexibility while preventing fragmentation. The key is to position the platform as an accelerator rather than a restriction while maintaining clear governance authority to protect the enterprise architecture.
Let's narrow in on exceptions. How do you decide when to grant an exception for a business unit? And what specific criteria or risks do you weigh before approving it? Take a moment. Think about a concrete scenario where a unit requested an exception. What factors did you consider, and how did you ensure that the core integration standards weren't compromised in that decision?
When evaluating exception requests to integration standards or platform usage, I treat them as a structured risk decision rather than an ad hoc approval. First, I require the business unit to clearly document the business justification. Exceptions are only considered if there is a compelling reason such as regulatory requirement, acquisition integration constraints, or a time critical delivery that cannot realistically adopt the platform within the required timeline. Second, I assess the architectural and operational risk. The key areas I evaluate include security implications and compliance impact, data governance and privacy risk, operational supportability and monitoring, long term technical depth introduced, impact on enterprise interoperability and reuse. Third, I evaluate whether the issue is actually a platform gap rather than a legitimate exception. In many cases, resistance highlights missing capabilities in the integration platform. If that is the case, the better solution is improving the platform instead of granting an exception. Fourth, all approved exceptions are time bound and tracked centrally. The business units must define a remediation roadmap to migrate back to the standard architecture. Exceptions are reviewed periodically to ensure they do not become permanent fragmentation. Finally, the decision process is transparent and typically governed through the Enterprise Architecture Review Board, ensuring alignment with enterprise architecture principles and accountability at the leadership level. The goal is to allow necessary flexibility without allowing exceptions to erode the integrity of the integration ecosystem.
Let me shift gears and ask about another key area. How would you approach managing the CAPEX and OPEX budgets for the integration and API platforms to ensure they align with platform strategies? Consider a scenario where mid-year adjustments are needed. How do you handle budget reallocation between capital expenditures for new platform capabilities and operational expenditures for ongoing support, while keeping alignment with long-term integration goals?
When managing CAPEX and OPEX for integration and API platforms, my approach is to treat the platform as a strategic product with measurable business value, not simply as infrastructure spending. First, I align platform investment with enterprise platform strategy and business outcomes. The integration platform should directly support key initiatives such as digital channels, platform ecosystems, and data driven services. That alignment ensures that CAPEX investments such as platform modernization or expansion are tied to measurable strategic capabilities rather than isolated technology upgrades. Second, I separate spending into three investment layers: core platform capabilities, API gateways, integration, runtime, developer portals, and security frameworks. Platform scalability and reliability, high availability, observability, and operational resilience. Innovation enablement, new capabilities such as event driven integration, AI enabled APIs, or partner ecosystems. This structure helps prioritize investments that deliver long term enterprise value. Third, I actively manage OPEX through platform standardization and automation. By considering integration technologies, automating CI/CD pipelines, and enabling self-service developer onboarding, the organization reduces operational overhead while increasing adoption. Fourth, I continuously measure platform ROI and cost efficiency using metrics such as cost per API transaction, integration delivery time, API reuse rates, reduction in point to point integration, infrastructure utilization. These metrics allow us to justify investments and optimize operational cost. Finally, I maintain a multi year platform roadmap that balances modernization, operational sustainability, and innovation. This ensures that CAPEX investments are phased approximately while appropriately while OPEX remains predictable and controlled. The goal is to ensure that the integration platform is funded as a long term strategic capability that accelerates digital delivery while maintaining financial discipline.
What's your process for adjusting in year spending if priorities shift? How do you reallocate budget between expanding core platform capabilities and funding new innovation features while staying aligned with business outcomes? Let's break it down. Describe how you would reassess mid year priorities by identifying a concrete example of a shifting business need. What criteria would you use to decide whether to redirect funds toward innovation versus maintaining existing platform scalability?
When priorities shift during the year, I treat platform funding as a dynamic investment portfolio rather than a fixed budget. First, I maintain clear visibility of all platform initiatives through a prioritized investment backlog tied to strategic business capabilities. Each initiative is mapped to measurable outcomes such as revenue enablement, partner onboarding, operational efficiency, or risk reduction. When priorities change, I reassess initiatives across three dimensions: strategic impact, how directly the initiative supports current business priorities; delivery stage, whether the work is early exploration, mid execution, or near completion; enterprise dependency, whether other programs depend on that capability. Second, I protect foundational platform investments. Core capabilities such as API governance, security frameworks, and platform reliability are not easily deferred because they support the entire ecosystem. These typically remain funded to avoid creating systematic risk. Third, innovation initiatives are managed through stage gated funding. Early innovation projects receive smaller exploratory funding as they demonstrate value. Through adoption metrics or business impact, they can receive additional investment. If priorities shift, these are often the most flexible areas for reallocation. Fourth, I work closely with business and product leadership to evaluate trade offs. If a new priority requires accelerated funding, we may temporarily pause lower impact initiatives, reduce scope, or sequence capabilities differently within the roadmap. Finally, I communicate changes transparently across stakeholders, ensuring that platform roadmaps remain aligned with enterprise outcomes and that engineering teams understand the rationale behind reprioritization. This portfolio based approach allows us to stay financially disciplined while ensuring the platform continues to support evolving business priorities.
I'm curious. Let me complete that question. How would you ensure compliance with cybersecurity requirements across all integrations and APIs, especially as the landscape evolves over time? Let's break it down. Describe one specific control or mechanism you rely on to ensure ongoing cybersecurity compliance in the API ecosystem, and how you verify it's consistently enforced.
To ensure cybersecurity compliance across all integrations and APIs, I focus on embedding security directly into the integration platform and lifecycle rather than treating it as an afterthought. First, I establish enterprise API security standards aligned with the organization's broader cybersecurity framework. These standards define requirements for authentication, authorization, encryption, data protection, rate limiting, and threat protection. Every API must comply with these policies before I can be exposed internally or externally. Second, I enforce these standards through platform level security controls rather than relying on individual development teams. Centralized API gateways and integration platforms enforce policies such as OAuth based authentication, token validation, encryption, and traffic protection. This ensures consistent security across all business units. Third, security controls are embedded into the API lifecycle and delivery pipelines. During design and development stages, automated checks validate API specifications, security policies, and data exposure risk. CI/CD pipelines include security scanning, vulnerability assessment, and compliance validation before deployment. Fourth, I maintain continuous monitoring and threat detection across the API ecosystem. Real time analytics help detect unusual traffic patterns, abuse attempts, or potential attacks. Security teams receive automated alerts and can rapidly respond to anomalies. Finally, because the cybersecurity landscape constantly evolves, I ensure the platform supports continuous policy updates and adaptive controls. Security policies can be centrally updated and automatically propagated across APIs, ensuring that the entire integration ecosystem stays aligned with emerging threats and regulatory requirements. By embedding security into governance, platform infrastructure, and delivery pipelines, cybersecurity compliance becomes an automated and scalable capability rather than a manual enforcement process.
Now I'd like to explore the adoption of MCP. What's the first step you would take to enable MCP compatibility across the integration landscape, focusing on a single critical factor? Focus on just one key factor. How would you identify and prioritize which existing APIs need to be refactored first to meet MCP compatibility standards?
The first step I would take to enable MCP compatibility across the integration landscape is to establish a standardized interface layer for AI accessible services. Before adopting MCP broadly, the organization needs a clear inventory of APIs, integrations, and data services that could be exposed to AI systems. Many enterprise integrations are not designed for AI driven consumption, so the initial focus is identifying which services should be MCP enabled. Once that inventory is defined, I would introduce a standardized service contract model aligned with MCP requirements. This means defining consistent schemas, metadata, authentication patterns, and capability descriptions so that AI agents can reliably discover and interact with enterprise services. This step is critical because MCP relies heavily on structured capability descriptions and predictable interfaces. Without standardization, every business unit would expose services differently, making MCP adoption fragmented and difficult to govern. After the interface standards are defined, we can enable MCP compatibility through the integration platform by introducing adapters or gateway capabilities that translate existing APIs and services into MCP compliant adoption endpoints. By starting with interface standardization and service Cataloging the organization ensures MCP adoption scales consistently across the enterprise rather than becoming another disconnected integration layer.
Now, tell me how you would identify the very first set of APIs for MCP compatibility. What criteria would you prioritize to select those initial services? Focus on one key factor. Would you base your selection on business impact, technical feasibility, or current usage patterns? And why?
To identify the first set of APIs for MCP compatibility, I would prioritize services that deliver the highest immediate value to AI driven workflows while remaining low risk operationality. I typically evaluate candidate API across four primary criteria. First, business impact. The API should enable high value enterprise capabilities that AI systems can meaningfully automate or augment. Examples include customer information retrieval, order status queries, knowledge base access, or product catalog services. These services allow AI assistants and agents to provide immediate visible business value. Second, data safety and security profile. A early MCP integration should focus on APIs with controlled or low sensitivity data exposure. This reduces risk while the organization gains operational experience managing AI driven integrations. Third, architectural maturity. The APIs selected should already follow strong governance standards, clear contracts, stable or versioning, proper authentication, and observability. Mature APIs are easier to expose through MCP without introducing reliability issues. Fourth, reusability across domains. The initial MCP compatibility APIs should support multiple use cases across the enterprise rather than serving a single narrow application. This accelerates adoption and demonstrates platform value early. Using these criteria, I would typically begin with read oriented enterprise services such as knowledge retrieval, catalog data, or customer account information. These provide high value while minimizing operational risk. Once the organization gains confidence with MCP enabled services, we can gradually expand through more complex capabilities such as transaction orchestration and automated workflows. This stage approach ensures that MCP adoption demonstrates business value quickly while maintaining strong governance and operational stability.
We've covered key areas: standard enforcement, handling resistance, budget alignment, compliance, and MCP. Let's conclude here. Please click the End Session button below to receive your personalized feedback and insights on your performance.
Well, I click the end session. Now it will evaluate and give me the feedback, and also it will tell me where do I stand, whether I have some hope in this particular job. But it doesn't send my result to anyone, so it is just for us to analyze. Oh, it is not that great, it is just a medium. So maybe because the corner cases what it was telling was not considered. So anyway, we can look at the trends, areas of improvement, and full transcript is there. So this particular transcript we can simply do the and then copy this full transcript, and we can give this to Cloud and ask them to create some better article through this so that we can learn. Let's say I will just copy this and I will give this to Cloud. Okay, so I will create new article based on this transcript, and hopefully that will iron out all the issues and will get perfect better article to read. Okay, so I will create that and send you the link in this video description, the article which I generated with this discussion. Thank you for looking at my video, listening to my video. Please subscribe, like, comment, and let's improve take real mock interview of each other and grow. Bye bye.